Week 1 was full of lolcows, but there's only one that can be the illustrious lolcow of the week. And I know what you're thinking, it has to be Notre Dame. Like Oliver Cromwell, I love nothing more than shitting on the Irish. And these fuckers make it way too easy. It's a broken script. Top team in the preseason rankings give an unwarranted national championship hype, then chart themselves on cue. It happened again. To Northern Illinois. In South Bend. They fought like chumps, laying a massive egg despite being ranked way too high for the 15th year in a row. And they paid $1.4 million to NIU to suffer this humiliation. You'd think they'd have learned from the Marshall debacle a few years ago, but nope! We get a reinforcement of the Dallas Cowboys of college football. I love when they become lolcow of the week. It means that international shit on the Fighting Irish Day has arrived. And we'll celebrate it for weeks on end. Well, what do we have here? One of at least 5 games where the Ravens raven in amazing ways. If you don't think they'll heinously play down to competition and lose in the most mind-numbing style possible, you're new to the game. This is tradition for them. It's why I can't trust them in January. They're paper tigers that repeatedly find ways to blow games in unbelievable fashion. What's it gonna take to stop with this bullshit, boys? How long must we suffer with Baltimore imitating Edgar Allan Poe in a back alley? How many awful drive-breaking penalties must they take? Daniel Faalele off position on the offensive line. Who needs to block Max Crosby? It's the offensive game plan. Hope Zay Flowers is open. Can John Harbaugh ever manage to adjust accordingly or not challenge the dumbest things? This Davante Adams catch was so clear-cut you could call it a babyface. You throw a red flag for this? That's a Mike Tomlin tier challenge. You don't go that low. Lamar and King Henry are in the backfield. Who needs that when you can have trickery? It's the same damn things over and over again with Baltimore. A team you should be beating by double digits, kept in the game by refusing to focus on the finer details. Of course Las Vegas won. I saw that coming in the second quarter. I'm a fan of a division rival and I'm frustrated with them. Just take your honorary lolcow of the week award and get the fuck out of my face. I'll celebrate with the Raiders in their locker room on a strong victory. Make that the second time in 2 years that Gardner Minshew shocked the world in Baltimore. The real first home game for the Eagles. Not that god-awful Brazilian shit like last week, but some red, white, and blue-blooded motherfucking football. This is pigskin in the raw, slathering it all over your body naked and covered in oil. It's not pretty, it's not attractive, and it's certainly not watchable, but when Philly wants blood, they'll squeeze every last drop of it out of their opponents. Ignore CJ Gardner-Johnson insulting Kobe's legacy, that's unimportant. What is the fact that the Eagles will crush, maul, maim, and tush-push their way to wins. Fighting and clawing for every inch of football field. There will be no mercy to those that stand in their way. As the crowd cheers this turnover on downs, the life force is being sucked out of a failed franchise. Sorry, Falcons, but the only reward for your overhaul is the same old shit as before. Only a brick wall could stop you. Its name is Saquon dropped it. One of the best running backs in the game dropped the dump-off pass. A catch that would have sealed the win, and his Giants' ways emerge. A 7th grader could have made this catch. Of course that happens and prevents a quick segment. Of course it does. I don't need to do anything else. Philly kicks a field goal to go up by 6, but we now have to go back to when Nick Sirianni got greedy and didn't take the fucking points in the first quarter. This is why they matter, kids. Because if they played it safe, they're up by 2 scores. Now we get past sins coming back to haunt them. Who am I kidding? This is Atlanta. They aren't gonna collapse. Monday night Kirk Cousins was a meme back in the day. The Eagles surely won't cocoon into soft zone prevent defense and allow the Falcons endless tracts of yardage until this... Oh. Vic Fangio's in charge of this D. That's his kryptonite. Wait, someone do a memory flush. Oh no, they're not gonna have time to reboot.
Cousins looks right, has a man! Touchdown, Drake London!
What? It's like millions screamed out in horror before drowning in cheese whiz. The avian flu spread from falcon to eagle, and its major symptom is choking. Philly literally pulled in Atlanta. One of the finest falconings we've seen since days of Quinn. An easy win ripped from their hands out of hubris at the final moment. I figured Baltimore or Dallas was the biggest embarrassment this week, but man, did Monday night save the best for last. This calls for a special honor. Couple lolcow of the week. Congratulations, Philly, you've learned abso-fucking nothing after last year's collapse. It couldn't have happened to a better fuckwit in charge of the team. What's that, Nick? You're throwing Jalen under the bus when he did nothing wrong? Bitch, you made the goddamn sandwich! You should be pumping gas at Sunoco and Camden, you fucking clown. Don't give me this shit when you fail at the basics of your job. This team's incompetence just bailed out Atlanta's season. They gave Dallas fans a bailout for their shitty performance. Unbelievable. So after all this craziness and hilarity, something has to take the title of Locale of the Week. And I know what you're thinking. Why isn't it anything that happened in the games? Because a greater shit show occurred. This past week, the NFL launched a Discord server. I'm not joking. The NFL decided the best way to appeal to the Zoomers was through a Discord server. Tell me you know nothing about internet culture without saying a word. You have this hastily constructed abomination. There will obviously be little football discussed. A land of 2-minute chat delays, an unprepared server for waves upon waves of shitposting and casualized racism. The standard internet fare. I'm honestly surprised it's still standing. It's the epitome of the NFL. See something popular and do no research to try to cater to it. If you want to see the disaster for yourself, there's also a waiting list to get on since shit's fucked from the get-go. A perfect formula for lolcow of the week. And by making this, I just got muted for 10 minutes. Put up or shut up time, Duval. Only one team has ever made the playoffs with an 0-4 start. And you certainly don't look like the type to make that sort of surge. Trevor Lawrence hasn't just stagnated, you can make the argument that he and the offense have drastically regressed. They went from one of the more promising units to being unable to do a damn thing most of the time. It's infuriating. Jacksonville is literally getting every chance it can to win. Houston's begging them to do something about it. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they Venmo'd the Texans O-line to keep taking penalties. It's the third week in a row where Laramie Tunsil turned into a pre-snap penalty cornerstone. But what's Duval without terrible red zone offense? Move Press Taylor. What are you, crazy? They'll accept failure down there, for it is a necessary sacrifice. Besides, they still have the lead. I don't know how, but they have the lead. This is way too much pressure for the Jags, they must find ways to ruin it. They're late in the fourth quarter, up by 3. It's a must-convert drive, and you're passing the ball? For 2 straight downs. Your running game was doing all right. Why aren't you burning their timeouts? Well, good job, Doug. Your full-court press offense fucked up again. Your defense is exhausted, and C.J. Stroud is dicing down the field with all but no resistance in return. A comeback isn't just a possibility. It feels inevitable. Get it done, Texans. Put these frauds in the rubbish where they belong.
Run. A play fake. Stroud on the move. A good touchdown!
Houston tried to nudge them to success. All the Jags had to do was be anything resembling a competent team, and they couldn't even do that. The same damn things keep popping up. Nothing is being learned. This is the best team in Jags history. With the head coach who doesn't know why people are calling for his head? Houston merely swept up the trash. They're dancing through raindrops themselves, but who cares? Win's a win. Jacksonville could have really used one of those. The Stephon Diggs revenge game. He may have dropped the ball in the playoffs last year, but he won't drop it today. In fact, Houston as a whole won't drop it in the first half, overcoming the issues that plagued them in past weeks to dominate a supposed contender in the Bills themselves. The offense may be going through Nico Collins instead of Diggs, but Buffalo is once again being laid to heel. The AFC hierarchy is changing and the Bills can do absolutely nothing about it. Then Nico Collins was lost. And they forgot one rule. Josh Allen isn't real. He's a figment of our imaginations. One snap of the fingers and it's suddenly a tight contest thanks to a couple of offensive splash plays. Did someone replace the Texans at halftime? This team has suddenly become a mercurial enigma and I don't know what to think of it. Houston self-destructing in front of our very eyes. The supposedly overcome vices are coming back to haunt them. C.J. Stroud fumbling a critical play and all the momentum in the world. You'd think Buffalo would snatch a win from Houston's cold dead hands. We forgot the other problem. Sean McDermott is brain dead. His answer is to predictably run for nothing. Rush Josh Allen out of concussion protocol to throw a pass that gets James Cook out of bounds, then gets flushed out of the pocket to throw it out of bounds. Busted at the table. The field goal will be taken to tie. It gets even worse from there. Explain this to me. The Bills get the ball with 30 seconds left. You're near your own goal line. Houston has all 3 timeouts. So you're chucking deep balls? on 3 straight downs? With a visibly concussed Josh Allen, who went 9 for fucking 30 on the day. Are you trying to get yourself fired, Sean? You've given the Texans too much time with the ball in your territory. Even a few seconds is way too much time. And Kaimi Fairbairn will punish you for it.
Snap, placement, sweeps the leg, Fairbairn! It's gone!
Congratulations, Sean, you're a goddamn moron. Your actions on those last 2 drives cost your team the game. You probably won't win a ring here, but you will win Locale of the Week. Put that in your resume when the Bills finally fire your ass. This week was truly special. Not only was it full of drama and chaos, but it's earned double Locale of the Week honors. Alabama, come on up here. You're going on the road to play Vanderbilt, a notorious football cupcake. Nick Saban said it on McAfee, it's a glorified home game for you. You're the #1 ranked team in the country for some reason. Coming in as hot shit to treat these scrubs as an FCS team. Guess what, Buttercup? The arrogant are often humble. You made them look like their baseball powerhouse. Not just losing, but fucking dominated in nearly every statistical metric. How the fuck do you lose to the railroad people? Vanderbilt owned you like he owned 19th century rail. Who the hell is Diego Pavia? Giving up more than 30 points to them for the first time since days of segregation. You wish you could segregate from these inferior Commodores, don't you? It's literally 1984. Vandy hadn't beaten Bama since then. Oh, if Saban were still here, he would have stripped scholarships on the spot and made everyone walk home. Oh, you're more than Locale of the Week. You're a laughing stock. Thanks, Vandy. We needed the hilarity. I demand that both of these teams are handed L's on the day. One team is dead in all but name, the other might as well be with how they've been playing. Philadelphia is a shithole. Surprisingly not the city, but the Eagles are rivaling the Phillies for fucking up. A team with this much talent should not be struggling this much against a bottom feeder. Despite besting them in both talent and production, the Eagles are making this much closer than it should be.
Ready.
A.J. Brown might be back, but life ain't easy being Kelly Green. Blocked field goals for touchdowns? You bet Cleveland's converting those. The fans justifiably want Sirianni's head. Is your offense constipated? Just take some laxatives, it'll free up the head coach clogging your intestines. Philly's saving grace is in their opponent. The Browns can't offense. At all. They've only scored once in their last 29 drives. Every match against the AFC East lost. You'd think things would be long overdue for change, but Cleveland's simply going to keep their heads in the sand. No, Deshaun's not the problem here. We may barely move the ball and Deshaun's a complete liability, but it's definitely not Watson. Trust us. I'm supposed to applaud Philly for barely beating a joke franchise? You got bailed out by high-end talent and you know it. Yet that fucking hack Sirianni's out here chirping the fans on the sidelines like he won anything worth a damn. The Eagles are at home. Buddy, you're lucky you're not serving them Dollaritas at fucking Applebee's. And trotting out your kids as a shield from criticism during the press conference, too. That's pathetic. Nick, you're definitely a fine Locale of the Week for your poor imitation of a clown. The clown can be funny. You're just aggravating. Get back to making my fries. Good news, Guardians fans. The Browns will cure you of your misery in incredible ways. Right after they give up this touchdown on the opening kickoff. Or so I think. Nick Chubb's back. It's truly a glorious day indeed. Cleveland may be doing next to nothing on offense, but the reality is that this is cause célèbre. Just don't pay attention to the game whatsoever. The Browns were given so many chances by Cincinnati to take advantage of their struggling offense. They feature one of the worst defenses in football statistically, but emphasizing Browns' futility, they can do nothing about it. After hours of torture, Joe Burrow drags this decaying corpse and ends the misery on display. In spite of a valiant defensive effort, they reinforce the factory of sadness that is their franchise. Just look at their new stadium proposal. It literally has the look down to a T. The same goes for Cleveland. Back to the days of an irrelevant joke franchise that opposing teams feast upon. Especially their rivals. And especially in their home stadium. Fortunately for them, nothing else happened of note. Nothing whatsoever. Just the loss to the Bengals, and that's that. I guess I have to go over it, don't I? This whole situation's just fucking miserable. It's obvious to anyone with even a modicum of football knowledge that Deshaun Watson is cooked. His shoulder's destroyed. His once dazzling talent fleeting as his life behind this offensive line. Everyone from fans to pundits to shit posters begging them to bench this money pit for famous Jameis. Kevin Stefanski hears their calls and benches Jameis. The gods have been doing everything in their power for Cleveland to take the hint. They're done playing nice. They'll owe Yeller Deshaun behind the shed. A non-contact torn Achilles puts this sad story out of its misery. Couldn't have happened to a more upstanding paragon of human values. The fans in attendance mourn by cheering the loudest they ever had all season. This was a Browns home game. The Grand Watson experiment ends to mass approval. And Deshaun's career might be as well. His only remaining asset was his mobility, and that's just been compromised. A bitter end to what will go down as one of the greatest disasters in NFL history. He played 6 games in each of the last 3 years. Terrible. But the Browns themselves see it differently. Myles Garrett and famous Jameis actively criticize those that cheer his demise. A man who gave his all for Cleveland. A model citizen on and off the field. Seriously, a model citizen? Best joke I've heard all day. At this point, all parties involved in this whole saga are locale of the week. Deshaun, the players defending him, the fans who supported him until he couldn't throw a football, and the team as a whole for sleeping with the devil himself. Norm Macdonald's words ring true. Everyone involved in this story should die. Myself included. Remember when Jameis got benched? They had to put in DTR. He isn't what we call good. And then he got hurt too. Everyone lost for the Browns on Sunday. Everyone. What goes around comes around, Mr. Haslam. Enjoy eating that carpet for the next few years. There was always a yin to the yang of life. Lomets takes a reprieve, a local franchise must take its place. How nice of the New York Jets to eagerly step in to maintain balance. It's an easy opponent for a team that needs a win as bad as Woody Johnson needs a brain. New England has nothing left. We're only hoping Drake May's out with a concussion. This should have been a win before they even bothered to step foot on the field. But that's why Lol Jets is a staple in the modern NFL. A lead in the second half? Simply give up a big punt return in the third quarter, giving them perfect field position to get an easy touchdown. Clutch field goals? Not with Greg the wide left leg, you aren't. Aaron Rodgers squeezing out whatever's left of his talent is nice. It'd be even nicer if they were able to convert the two-pointer. Nothing is truly more exhilarating than a supposedly elite defense crumpling into a ball against the powerful might of Jacoby Brissett and Kayshon Boutte. He of 10 fucking catches in his NFL career. That's what drives New England to a win and hysterical laughter all the way to the locker room. The Jets fancy themselves as legitimate contenders, yet they're being teabagged by the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers handpicked a Super Bowl contender on paper, brought in all of his buddies, hastened an organizational coup, added even more of his buddies, and is all but de facto dictator. It's like Le GM without the rings. Aaron's All-Stars are a shitty football team. They were better under the goddamn MILF man last year. Fucking hilarious. The comedy of the season. Rodgers doesn't have the ability to overcome it anymore. All the cancer without any of the chemo. Welcome to Locale of the Week. Aaron will blame everyone else for his inevitable descent into madness. Turns out we're getting Caleb versus Jaden after all. After an injury scare, Daniels is able to go in this suddenly exciting matchup. Well, in theory it was exciting. It'd be really nice if the commies could score in the red zone. You'd think it'd be perfect considering their damn namesake, but they legitimately can't do a damn thing there. Yards upon yards upon yards, only to stall out at the worst possible times. And it would allow the Bears to snag the lead. Their offense can do anything, literally anything, to drought rivaling their first few weeks of the season. And it's not a Caleb thing this time around. It's a coaching phenomenon. They didn't pay attention to Seattle last year whatsoever. Running the ball is working really well for you. The defense is doing everything in their power to keep you in the game. Scenario time for all you football heads. You're at the 1-yard line after an impressive drive for once with a chance to take the lead. You are Shane Waldron. What do? A. Run the football with a white-hot DeAndre Swift. B. Devise a play for Adunze or Komet. Or C. Pay tribute to the fucking fridge. They chose C. Ain't that a bitch? How the hell did Bears fans think Waldron was an upgrade? So now Chicago has to try again. Thankfully, the commies' defense is exhausted and giving up yards en masse. Consider it luck, consider it a new age, but Caleb and DeAndre willed the Bears to a touchdown and the lead. Number 1 in the draft, number 1 in this game. Well, Chicago, it might be the ugliest one I've seen in an age and a half, but it's done. All you have to do is stop a Hail Mary. Don't worry, you're not up against Aaron Rodgers.
Comes down to one last play. And it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line. And the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh my goodness!
Oh my succulent Jesus. If that's not a Bears way to lose a football game, God is a cruel bastard. A 1 in a million shot that should have never happened to begin with, robbing Chicago of keeping pace with their rivals. All in a day's work for an ineptly run McCaskey franchise. Only for the Bearskin Tyreek Stevenson taunt fans in the crowd when the play is fucking happening. Then be responsible for the tip that led to the touchdown in the first place. And better yet, he was the guy that was supposed to be responsible for covering Noah Brown. The arrogant are often humbled at the altar of greatness. Tyreek's only reward is deserved ridicule. Lol cow of the week. This is lol cow of the fucking month. God, how do you become so tone deaf? And I'm talking both him and Eberflus. Washington not only won, but Jayden Daniels may have won Offensive Rookie of the Year with that throw alone. God, I love this fucking league. This was something. Peak Steelers and peak dirtball at the same time. You know what that means? Greatness. I was long overdue for it this year. So much for doing any other content. Trust me, I want to do it, but the football keeps bogging me down. I'm gonna go die now. I feel like I've unearthed long forgotten memories. Thank you for being terrible, Giants. It's okay, you'll finally be able to get your revenge. Give it another touchdown drive since everyone's getting complacent, and bang, you have yourself a long touchdown run by the increasingly solid Tyrone Tracy. We have ourselves a game again. Now, I don't necessarily know if I'd be going for 2 here, especially with that formation. Wait, what the fuck was that? Seriously, what the fuck was that supposed to be, the swinging derp? This might legitimately be both the greatest and worst 2-point conversion play I've seen in my years. Seriously, we have to give this a deep dive. The more you look at it, the worse it gets. Nobody is blocking Alex Highsmith. No one! There are 5 fucking guys standing there looking at the snap and nobody thought to lay a finger on him. After that, Devin Singletary realizes, oh shit, I lost my guy, and tries to do something way too late. Better yet, when the pass happens, the lineman then try to block. If Highsmith was somehow touched, there were 4 other guys that would have stopped this play. This may be worse than the Colts fake punt. That one was never meant to be snapped. This one was devised to score points. Oh lord, this is a lol cow of the year nominee. I can't stop laughing at it. It's beautiful. It's so fucking beautiful. A work of art that should hang in the Louvre. Oh man. I haven't an orgasm like that in a few weeks. Seriously, why didn't you just run an inside slant in the one-on-one coverage? I can only think of one play that can amplify that.
Here's one aired out. Pickens! What a grab!
Russell Wilson! Russell Wilson! Come on, baby! High knees! High knees! Oh, come on!
Now, only if they could get another offensive touchdown here at Bikino, but alas, there can only be so much joy. Boswell's your fantasy team kicker who's won you at least 3 games this year. Maybe the Giants can win 3 games this year too. Maybe. Well, good news is that they'll get into field goal range, but that's it. Another field goal to Greg Joseph. But this game should be done. As long as they don't fuck it up, we're in the... Oh, god damn it. Hold on a second, let me open up the cheat menu. Up, down, left, right, be a start. Alright, TJ, do your thing.
Here I come. Pressure off the edge. Watt returns the favor.
Seriously, this man is the damn team. Dude wins the Steelers 5 games a year on his own. I will swear to my grave that Mike Tomlin is not the reason Pittsburgh's still relevant. It's TJ Watt. Please keep him healthy, football gods. He's a fucking wrecking ball. Unfortunately, the offense also wrecks things and they have to punt it back. But these are the Giants. Sure, they're moving it down the field and making this way too uncomfortable for my liking, and please fucking stop this shit for once.
Pressure, passes high, and
intercepted by Beanie Bishop.
So, this was a game. Peak Derp and peak Steeler football all at the same time. The Steelers head into their bye week at 6-2, and the Giants' season is all but a bye at 2-6. Oh, this one's gonna be immortalized. For all the wrong reasons. Seriously, that fucking 2-point conversion. It's amazing. I can't get over this play. I can't get over this play. Beware of spooky and ghastly sights on Halloween. Enter a haunted place with limbs and ligaments scattered throughout MetLife Stadium. There will only be horrible football in this house of abominations. Only the worst of what the NFL has to offer. Fumbling away as the evil chases them at every turn. Punting Malachi Corley. Seriously, Malachi? You pulled a fucking Deshaun Jackson? Did you not pay attention in class or something? Instant locale of the week. Get the fuck out of here, Corley. Get out. Out. I don't want to see you or the Jets anymore. Remind me to never consider the Bears for anything worthy of respect ever again. I got fooled by their strong finish last year and talent infusion on offense. I should have reminded myself that this is Chicago. No matter what's done, the only thing that's constant is their ability to fuck everything up. Look at what happened against the Patriots, for fuck's sake. They didn't just beat the Bears, New England completely humiliated them. In their own home. Someone seriously thought that Shane Waldron was a good option to lead an offense? There's no way that a team like this should be so mangled. This is sub-Mac Canada levels of ineptitude. 142 yards of production? 1 for fucking 14 on third downs? Against this depleted roster? The Pats have nothing resembling a pass rush and they sacked Caleb 9 times. They only had 16 goddamn sacks before the game! New England didn't even have a red zone offense for the most part, yet it was so damn easy for them. This has to get Eberflus and company fired, right? It has to. This is pathetic. And the Patriots are laughing their sides off as Chicago becomes locale of the week. Maybe they'll give more of a shit about it than DJ Moore does. And then they hire a new coach and the same cycle continues anew for 3 more years of bullshit in the Windy City. Oh no, the Bears fired Shane Waldron as a placebo? What a tragedy for the rest of the NFC North. Who else will devise such genius schemes as option plays on the 1-yard line? We're running a fullback dive with an offensive lineman. We're leaving defensive linemen unblocked by design. Anyone who saw him in Seattle knows he was a hack, yet Eberflus thought he would unlock Caleb's abilities? Williams told his punter he wasn't gonna punt much this year. His leg's gonna fall off by week 14. And this firing's totally gonna fix the litany of issues, shitty team leadership, and lazy veterans and McCaskey bullshit. Locale franchise and then some. Thomas Brown is now offensive coordinator. He didn't do too well in Carolina last year. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's like Chicago never left. All the Jets needed was a league average Aaron Rodgers and they'd make the playoffs. Oh, if I can only slap some sense into myself a few months ago. New York's season has continued its relentless spiral into death and destruction. Indianapolis has caved into starting AR5 after a needed benching. And he did not go 5 for 30 today. Against the Jets, he teased the upside that had scouts ogle him at the draft. He didn't just serrate this group at MetLife, he fucking bulldozed them. I don't know if this says more about AR or the Jets. They as an entire organization haven't just regressed, they've devolved into the anti-team. Even Flacco would have torched these fuckers. This defense is dog water. And they're somehow hanging with Indy despite every chance given to let them be mollywogged. The Colts defense has its flaws, but Aaron doesn't have the ability to throw it deep like he used to. So it's merely dinking and dunking for touchdowns. The Jets defense? Nothing. Just nothing. And it's neck and neck deep in the fourth with Gangrene up by 5. New York just has to make a stop. And they shut down their leg. Full gunk and stank for the entirety of the drive. A disaster and then some. With Anthony Richardson's arm and legs, the reality is in sight. Another Colts win by drunkenly stumbling into one. And Indy's up by one. But this moment is what Aaron Rodgers was made for. The final drive. He's done this a million times before. Heroics and elite play with plenty of time on the clock to bail out an incompetent team. The deal with the devil is gifting them unnatural opportunities. They completely fuck it up. This is your savior, Jets. This year has been the butt-fumbliest butt fumble to have ever been butt fumbled. They once again chose poorly at every turn and the whole team's imploded on itself. Season DOA. The defense is cratered since Saleh's firing? No fucking shit, Sherlock. Next you're gonna tell me that Rodgers has visibly declined thanks to injury and age. Sell the fucking team, Woody. You're a joke without end. The Jets obviously can't point the finger at the two men primarily responsible for the shit show. Aaron's grand experiment in New Jersey has been an unmitigated disaster. Dreams of playoff glory spiraling into a chasm. The defense has regressed into a bottom-tier unit. The offense is roughly in the same boat. All this talent fading into absolutely nothing? Someone else has to get axed for it. And they obviously aren't choosing Rodgers. Joe Douglas, my old chum. These last few years haven't been you, but you had a bunch of demerits before this anyway. Your newest title, Scapegoat. 2023's failure to assemble an O-line and backup QB are on you. Drafting Zach Wilson was on you. No one cares that you built up that defense and were handcuffed by Rodgers these last few years. The maggots can feast on your carcass right next to Saleh. Because the real victim in this story is the guy who has a worse win percentage with the Jets than Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold. Considering the sky-high expectations this franchise had, New York is an easy candidate for Locale of the Week. Douglas and Saleh may have had their flaws, but they aren't the major issues in the grand scheme of things. This year is a flaming wreck, only equaled by Duval under Peterson and Balky. Does anyone know why they haven't been fired yet? Or even more incompetent than Gangrene? You know what? Shotgun gets Locale of the Week too. Locale teams stay locales. Who knew? What an absolute gong show that we witnessed. Good lord, these teams need to go right to the confessional to declare their sins, for there are far too many to state here. It wasn't a match where teams tried to win, but one where both strived to lose in unbelievable fashion. The last matchup was tequila, this one was straight up Everclear. Pure alcohol pounded until they black out from the cavalcade of fuck-ups parading down the street. It was a circus rivaling Barnum's Grand Traveling Museum. Bring out the freaks, because they're the only people that will take pleasure out of watching such a spectacle. This was a contest that featured a blocked field goal, a blocked punt, 2 kickoff return touchdowns, and 2 missed PATs. Special teams units are wearing dunce caps after this one. Good fucking God. It was chaotic evil. And for Washington, it's unbelievably alarming. The second half cliff is very real. They need to keep pace with Philly after pissing away the division lead. If the first 3 quarters resemble all the decorum and class of Disco Demolition Night, it's an unwatchable mess, but this is merely an appetizer. The football gods demand their fill, and these two teams will be their conduit. It's 13-9 Cowboys and Washington has the ball. Or not. A fumble ruins their ambitions. Dallas takes the easy field position they gain and slices through the defense for a touchdown with ease. Now comes the chance to counter for Jaden Daniels. He may be injured to hell and back, but he's shown moxie even in this state. He will mince whatever this Cowboys defense is supposed to be to bring it back within 3. Now, as long as their defense can hold, they'll be fine.
Line drive to Turpin, and it bounces through his legs. Here he comes. Turpin spinning 3. Here he goes. Fastest man in the NFL. KaVontae Turpin takes it all the way. Touchdown Dallas.
The commies fell for the oldest trick in the book. That's the kind of overpowered move you pull off in Madden 2003. So much for a 1-score game. Well, just get it back. And try not to fumble it this time. Jaden will try his damnedest to push the rock further. But it's only to field goal range. And the kick is drilled to bring it back within 7 points. Dallas doesn't do much with their drive, but it's a good position for them. They have to punt, but this is an impossible task for Jaden. No timeouts deep in their own territory with about 30 seconds left. No Hail Marys here. Do the commies have another miracle in them?
Half a minute, no timeouts. Daniels throws down the sideline for Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is loose. Lightning strikes twice in Washington.
fucking Mike Zimmer defense is in the clutch. Good God, what a disaster! All you had to do was make a tackle, Dallas. This game is drunk. Give me the damn keys. You are driving tonight. Just kick the damn extra point. Oh my God, he missed! Oh my God! No! No! Oh my God! Oh God! Daddy! Stop, please! No! No! Oh no, he's returning it! Oh no! Oh God! No! Make it stop! Make it stop! So how does Chicago one-up the misery index after weeks of unearthing new torture techniques on their fan base? A terrible first half sounds about right. Detroit gives such little fucks that they're running pass plays by Panay Sewell. And the fans are cheering a sack. The Lions are straight up trolling them. There's nothing they can do about it. Most of the first half, Chicago had fewer yards gained on offense than the Lions had first downs. This should honestly be outright slaughter, but Detroit's getting insanely arrogant and not going for the kill. Not to mention Sonic losing all his rings near the Bears' end zone to keep them only leading by 16 at half. You get a recipe for disaster. Chicago finally got their shit together at halftime. Probably from Eberflus being locked in a broom closet. Caleb and the offense are flying high. And there's one significant reason for it. The Lions are running out of defenders. Not even being facetious, their injuries being shredded by injury left and right. And that's partly why Chicago's coming back into the fray. Thanks to repeated stalling by Detroit on offense and the first missed field goal of Jake Bates' career, the Bears are only down by 3. The pendulum swung hard, emphasized by a Lions 3 and out. Chicago's being propped up and handed a golden chance yet again. A final drive with a chance to not only save the game, but people's jobs. Driving down thanks to Caleb and a bit of ref ball, as is tradition. They're now in striking distance. Too bad Flus freed himself from the closet. In standard Bears fashion, they imitate modern Twitter and nobody's blocked. A brutal sack to kick them out of field goal range with a little over 30 seconds left. But they do have a timeout to play with. Any competent mind could work with this. You know, you can do something, Chicago. Do we need to phone a friend or poll the audience? Seriously, what the fuck are you doing? Call your timeout. Run a play. Organize your men. What is your major malfunction, you asswipes?
Oh, this is disaster in the making here. You're going to have to do something when it comes down to this play. Incomplete, and the game is over.
I feel like I lost 20 IQ points by watching that segment. Did the Bears collectively suffer a mini-stroke at that moment? Don't you have 2-minute drills to prepare for this? That was absolutely retarded. I know you're not supposed to say that in 2024, but there's no other word to properly describe it. Running a halfback dive would have been a better option. Give yourself a fucking chance. A 6-year-old playing fucking Madden would have better game sense. Your team needs a leader and Caleb's pissing down his leg, Matt. You're the head coach. Call your goddamn timeout. What was your adjustment there, an ice pick severing the prefrontal cortex? I have nothing. I legitimately have nothing. The NFL's bullshit is finally broken. Every yokel sitting in that stadium 6 beers in knew what to do. How the hell did Flus not? It's one thing to completely botch the football equivalent to pin the tail on the donkey. But it's another entirely to fuck up an easy situation and actively defend it after the fact. How the hell did you handle it the right way? Were you juggling Fabergé eggs on the sideline when this was happening? All of Chicago wants this guy publicly executed by firing squad, but I feel bad for the Bullets. You didn't just gift Detroit a 10-1 record when they were doing their best to flop. You ended the Detroit Thanksgiving memes in one fell swoop. Don't worry, folks. Eberflus is saving that timeout for when he's on the unemployment line. This has to get that guy fired, right? Turns out it was. When even the Chicago Bears, a team notorious for never firing a goddamn coach in the regular season, have had enough of your shit, it's ridiculously damning. History has been made. Eberflus was so utterly incompetent at nearly everything at his job that the McCaskies are swallowing the remainder of his contract. They even let him have a press conference an hour before where he stated that he believed he'd be coaching the next week. Brother, if that happened, Bears fans would have made January 6th look like a building tour. The locker room was about to Ceausescu this fucker outside of team headquarters. They were popping champagne corks when they found out. But he's merely a symptom. Kasky ineptitude and cheapness loom large again. They could have fired him last year, but they used their late surge as an excuse to not have to spend money. And the same damn cycle perpetuates. I'm looking forward to Caleb Williams in the black and gold. Hey, it happened the last 2 times. That timeout Eberflus save's gonna come in handy. Or perhaps he lost it as often as he did one-score games. Sometimes you just have to remember the golden rule of Steeler football. When in doubt, trust the other team to repeatedly self-destruct. They were the better team in more than a few metrics, but this tale is one of the Browns repeatedly cutting themselves off at the knees. Sometimes that's all you need to get revenge for a snow globe game. It's standard black and gold fare otherwise. Use a balanced defensive attack to drive the ball and suffocate their offense with a vaunted front 4. Even without George Pickens, Russell Wilson and Najee Harris make easy work of this battered unit. Their 10th win comes without a sweat. Then Browning happened. Famous Jameis has been blessed by the Lord and delivered from pick 6s. He wasn't delivered from his terribly delicious turnover vice. As he ponders this cruelty, Dustin Hopkins continues his quest to shank some of the easier kicks an NFLer can make. I swear, Chris Boswell usurped the power of every AFC North kicker for his own gain this year. And Kadarius Toney. Oh, you thought he was working at a Publix somewhere in Florida? No, he's trying to get himself cut from another team. Brain-dead personal foul penalties are merely the start of his idiocy. New York celebrates the greatest victory on the day. A muffed punt which all but sealed the game for Pittsburgh. Kadarius may be a 2-time Super Bowl champ, but he's only winning locale of the week from this point forward. Chance to sweep Pittsburgh for the first time since 1988 has been lost. And this season is yet another lost one in a sea of them. Factory of Sadness truly is an overdrive.
Miss.
Okay. Woo! Popcorn. Like The Simpsons, these are franchises that have been well past their prime for decades. Which is also why this game wasn't flexed. The NFL's pulling a solid for the sake of fan service. What fan service they're aiming for is anyone's guess. Consider these 2 groups like Marge's voice actress. Should be put out to pasture and their talent shredded by age and wear. Kind of like Zach Martin, but less sad than his potential career-ending injury. Still as bad as these defenses on the field of play. Who knew that bad unit facing bad unit would lead to a complete mess of missed tackles? If Dak were still healthy, it would have been even worse for the Bungles. So instead, we get something as uncanny as The Simpsons in 3D. It's definitely a game. That's all I'll say about that. It goes on for far too long and merely exists for the sake of nostalgia, nothing better being on. And I'm saying this as a guy who loved The Simpsons 20 years ago. Speaking of that number, the game's tied at 20 in the 4th quarter. And it will continue to be tied at 20. It's still tied at 20. Is either team gonna do anything? The defense has finally managed to show up 45 minutes late, but at least they're keeping things close. With time winding down, it feels like Dallas bullshit will prevail. Joe Burrow's head might have gotten all but ripped off, but Jerry Boy Venmoed the refs to keep his team's minuscule chances alive. And they're gonna get more than that when they get the ball back.
That's blocked! And picked up by Cincinnati out across the 46.
Oh, didn't you people learn in high school? Peter, you imbeciles! Peter! That is such a Cowboys way to lose a football game. Have everything line up perfectly and then Amari Oruwariye becomes the second coming of Leon Lett. Way to go, you fool. The defensive momentum squashed and Jamar scores easily for Cincy to take the lead. Game over, season thrown in the perpetually burning tire fire. And the loss is far from the worst thing that happened to them tonight. DeMarvion Overshown has been one of the few bright spots on the Cowboys. That light shattered like his knee. So horrifying and brutal that he may be out all of 2025. What a fucking shame. It's official, the gods are pissed at Jerry Jones. We'll keep sleeping on Dallas, Micah. At this point, the whole franchise is jumping off the Springfield Gorge. These teams scored over 90 points last week. I just know everyone sat around the fire and said, I miss really awful Thursday night football games. Because we got ourselves a slopfest of misery equaling the weather conditions in Santa Clara. Nobody can do a damn thing. Seriously, nothing. I hope you like punting because that's the highlight of the night. The end zone's been disabled, field goals only. San Fran had more punting yards on the day than offensive yards by a country mile. Endless fuck-ups that only reveal traitors in their midst. Debo talks all that shit about how he's not getting the ball enough and proceeds to do that. Congrats, asswipe, that drop just cost your team the game. And he wasn't even the most embarrassing player on the damn field. Devondre Campbell channeled the spirit of Vontae Davis and just said fuck it and left. Saw what Deontay Johnson did last week and told him to hold his release papers. Maybe they were gifted to the opposition like Brock's throws. The Niners aren't just losing, they're smoldering with every bad luck outcome imaginable. Loss number 8, humiliatingly swept by the Rams, point of no return. You're fucking cooked, handing your jacket at the door. Don't give me the injury excuse. LA was wrecked at the start of the year and managed to come back from the dead. Rumors of the Rams' demise were greatly exaggerated indeed. But impressive the run they've been on. And playoffs are a very real possibility. Go smite those before you once more. A critical game in the AFC playoff picture. Surprising to think considering how the season's played out, but Denver's eager to get back to the promised land of January. It sure as hell isn't happening the way they're playing. I'm under the assumption that the Broncos got high off their own supply because the quality of play has taken a nosedive. When they thought they were safe, Mo Picks has returned. He's being exposed for the Sean Payton merchant that he is. And the hopium in Denver is choking them away slowly. Even as Anthony Richardson can't throw a football accurately, Indy might as well be leading by 20. It's fucking hilarious. The Colts are going to drunkenly stumble their way into the playoffs. Who needs a passing game when you have Jonathan Taylor rushing through the opposition like this? Oh no, Jonathan! What are you doing, my man? You sat there and watched Malachi Corley pull the same shit on Halloween. Jordan Battle did it hours ago, for fuck's sake. You're getting paid $14 million a season. Why the hell are you sabotaging the season Wentz style? Hold on to the fucking ball! Drunkenly stumbling around has started to backfire. You think a good plan is for Adonai Mitchell to throw a pass? Nick Bonito swoops in and destroys their dreams. And with that, Indy season all but ends in a hilarious thud. They fancy themselves as playoff contenders, yet fail to realize that they fucking suck. Denver wasn't any good either, but if the Colts want to lose the game on their own, more power to them. Their January ambitions may be all but dead, but Colo Cow of the Week honors are more than ripe for the taking. Denver can keep on huffing that hopium as Mo Picks makes a glorious return to fuel his haters. He was absolutely terrible today. Don't you dare think that Indy didn't beat themselves easily. Poor Chris Ballard. He drafted a project QB he can't develop and a season dead to rights. Speaking of which, the Broncos pretty much punched their ticket to January on the back of a strong defense. They're probably gonna get walloped in the first round, but considering their early projections, Denver takes that every day of the week. Thousands of centuries of evolution. The cavemen who survived predator, foe, and brutal conditions fought tooth and nail to deliver this abomination to our doorstep. You can call this matchup many things. Football is not one of them. We had two teams to pick what was apparently supposed to be the sport, but it was like a 2-year-old playing the piano, slamming keys for the hell of it. Sadly, someone had to win, and today it was the team with the most to lose here. The Raiders can't do anything right. They're a garbage team that inverts Al Davis's trademark saying, but when it's beneficial to lose, then they beat an opponent. They desired defeat, but Jacksonville outsucked them in the art of failure. And there's only one sarcastic cry from their fan base. Raiders! Oh, you done fucked up now. A year so full of misery that the most devastating loss is in a win. The tank's been dismantled into 1,000 pieces, dropping from first all the way to 6th. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders might be off the table, and Mark Davis is celebrating this organizational jackknifing. This is why you stay pathetic, Las Vegas. You lost the number 1 pick, but locale of the week is absolutely in view. Antonio Pierce truly is the greatest Giant. He made the greatest play for that team in his career. Fantastic news for them. Fucking Indy. I knew you were a shitty team, but this is a travesty even I couldn't imagine. A paper soft schedule allowing your fraud squad to sneak into the seed that shouldn't exist, and you still fuck it up. Stop me if you've heard this before. AR5 is injured. The elite Joe Flacco will be forced into duty. And it's not pretty. Colts fans may hate his guts and pretend that getting Richardson reps will suddenly make him into a consistent quarterback, but Flacco was far from the major issue here. It was their defense. This unit was supposed to be good? People were saying that I was sleeping on them? What the hell are they smoking? Is the entire unit hotboxing in the locker room before games? That's the only explanation I have for this disaster. These fucks turned Drew Luck into prime Peyton Manning. Perfect. Horsecock Lock. one of the highest DPAs in the stats history. Drew fucking Lock became a generational QB for a tank squad. New York's first home win on the damn year with authority. The Giants may have ruined their chances at Tank Bowl glory, but only dropped to 4th, so Cameron Shador could still be in play. But the Colts, another year of outright humiliation on the national stage. You broke Pat McAfee. You know how bad you have to be to do that? He's the epitome of an airheaded dude, bro, and he's pissed off. To be fair, if this were my team, I'd be producing enough salt to clear the streets of Indianapolis all winter. Oh, this is more than worthy of Locale of the Week. It merely reinforced what I was thinking about this garbage team since week 2. Keep fancying yourselves as playoff contenders. It's totally doing wonders. Anyone who's watched these guys for 10 seconds knows they suck. You give up over 40 points to a derp squad that's averaged 11 over the last 3 games? I rest my case. The Saints of the AFC. Utterly delusional.
Miss.
You know the rules, New England. Lose. Do everything in your power to fail. Buffalo's playing their backups for this game after one play of Josh Allen, so the challenge will be even greater. And this is Gerard Mayo's chance to solidify his reputation as tank commander. Drake May's gotten the shit kicked out of him a little too much this year. That and he's too good, so in comes Joe Milton in his NFL debut. He was brought in for the suck, and he responds by turning into 2010 Michael Vick, slinging footballs and dazzling with his feet in a showcase for more playing time in the future. Perfect. Of course, the Bills have nothing to play for, but they're just letting Milton shake, rattle, and roll his way to a career day. Figures. The moment the Patriots can build another dynasty on the opposite end, it crumbles in front of them by means of quality play. Why, New England? You had a chance to get a nice haul from a QB-hungry team for the first overall pick. You might have lost Travis Hunter. Don't destroy your glorious tank before the finish line. Patriots, no! No! For our last segment, we will not bring out the dead. Instead, we crown the grandest prize of all. Lol Cow of the Year. The nominees for this dishonor: Lee Houghton, the commissioner of the re-revival of the Arena Football League. A completely unprofessional mess from the moment it was devised. Team shutting down within weeks, ousted from power for being derelict of duty, leaving calamity in his wake. The surviving teams go on to form the equivalent of the No Homers Club, the Chicago White Sox, setting the record for most losses in a baseball season with 121. Epic ineptitude everywhere you look. Once looked at as a potential dynasty, only became one in misery. We'll be shedding more payroll and blowing it up less than a decade after blowing it up. Matt Eberflus, purveyor of so-called excellent culture, helped to drive the Bears into the ground with disorganization at every level and bought short yardage play calls. Don't ask him for any timeouts. He's saving a special one for a rainy day. And the New York Jets, one of the finest butt fumbles ever assembled in their history. The Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson show turned into the modern equivalent of Joker 2. Woody using Robert Saleh as a scapegoat only for the team to implode on itself. Joe Douglas canned after being cucked in his role. If you act quickly, you can change Madden ratings to their liking. And the winner of 2024 Lol Cow of the Year is the New York Jets. Congratulations on recency bias, boys. I personally would have chosen Lee Hutton or the White Sox, but the Jets make a very strong case for themselves. You were hunting for a trophy? You earned this one, lads. Well done.